hopeful last night when she couldn't come up with a good enough advertisement for a new video game. As the project manager, she ended up in the boardroom facing the words nobody wants to hear.
I admit that the concept that I used, that there were some miscalculations with
And
that.
they were bad miscalculations.
I don't think they were bad miscalculations.
Look, this was a marketing task, and you didn't get it. No matter what you say, no matter what you do, forgetting about even leadership, you didn't get the marketing task right. I think you're going to have a great future. I really believe that, but I have to say in this case, Tara, you're fired.
Tara Dowdell, good morning. You actually had a party last night for people watching the show, your friends. They all thought you were going to win this competition. What was your reaction?
It was a very interesting evening because people said, why would she be having a party if she's getting fired? There's no way she's getting fired. So, of course, people were extremely shocked last night when I got fired.
Now, let's talk about why you got fired. You basically, the task this time was to create an advertisement, a graffiti advertisement on a wall in Harlem for a new kind of PlayStation game. And you decided to be the project manager because you felt that, hey, I'm the demographic, I'm between the ages of 18 and 34, I'm urban. So what went wrong?
Well, you know, I think, honestly, you know, could have, should have, would have, but honestly, I was a little dogmatic, and I was very concerned about ensuring that what we did was not something that would negatively impact the community. And so I think I put a little too much emphasis on focusing on the community and not enough on what PlayStation 2 wanted, unfortunately.
So you admit to making a mistake. You put the community's interest above the company's interest.
Well, I think there are worse things that can be said about a person.
That's
but at the same time,
but it didn't do the job.
I didn't maintain enough balance. There was more balance that could have been maintained, and unfortunately, I didn't do that. And you know, you learn though.
So one of the things I'm wondering about whether you learned is some of the criticism that you received from your teammates. You felt that they didn't get enough, I guess, credit for the work. In other words, when you were talking to PlayStation executives, do you think that maybe you didn't give them enough credit for the work?
Well, by and large, the concept was mine, and I really did push the concept. And there was an opportunity for my teammates to offer, you know, their concepts, and a lot of people just sort of went with mine. And you know what, frankly, I do a lot of public speaking, and so I'm sort of used to speaking in the first person, so it was kind of inadvertent that I kept referring to myself in the first person. It was really sort of a force of habit.
Well, you know, it's interesting, that comment, that complaint is interesting, especially now because Omarosa, who was from season 1, she commented that she feels that there's a negative portrayal of African Americans in reality TV. She said, quote, once you start looking at how all the black men are, quote, lazy and laid back and non-assertive and non-aggressive, and how all the black women are quite the opposite, I think there's a pattern. Do you think there's a pattern of negativity in terms of how African Americans are portrayed on reality television?
Well, I think the media in general is a microcosm for the rest of society, and I think what gets lost in this great debate that's ensuing right now is the fact that the public perception, I think that unfortunately African Americans are received differently by the public, because I've seen other women on different reality shows, you know, conduct themselves in a manner, and men, that's not very appropriate and downright, you know, mean and rude. And for some reason, the feedback that they get is not as harsh as the feedback that African Americans get when they conduct themselves in a similar way. So I think that public perception of different cultures is where we sort of, is a piece of the argument that we haven't focused on. And I think that needs to be looked at.
All right, on that note, we have to leave it. Good luck in the future to you, Tara.
Thank you, TaraDowdell.net.
All right. And you can catch a new episode of The Apprentice next Thursday night at 9, 8 Central Time right here on NBC. We're back after these messages.
So how many people think that Imus should have been fired for his statements? And first of all, do you remember what he said? Well, basically, the Rutgers women's basketball team had a you all familiar with the term, a Cinderella season? I know the guys are basketball term. It basically means a season where they were not expected to do very well, and they went really far and did very well. They ended up making it to the championship game. And that next morning, after they had lost that game, after going so far, he made a statement about them. At first, he started off, and this part has gotten ignored. He started off by saying that they were basically rough, and they had all these tattoos, and they were ugly, and they were jigaboos, which is from Spike Lee's movie School Days. And then the other team, which the women from Tennessee were lighter skinned and and I guess what he deemed to be more attractive, he said, and they're like the wannabes from School Days. And then he said the Rutgers women's basketball team looked like a bunch of nappy-headed hoes, basically, is to paraphrase what he said. And so that statement sparked off just outrage from people all over, of all races, about him referring to these women in that way, these women who had just done Everybody So Proud. So what do you think? Do you think him going on the radio and referring to this basketball team, these college students, women, as nappy-headed hoes, should he have been fired? He was fired. Should he have been? How many people, by show of hands, think that he should have been fired? Well, everybody. And why do you think he should have been fired?
I think that he should have been fired because if they would have let that just slide, then somebody else could have came and did it. And then, like, if another person would have done it, they could have just had an excuse. Like, they could have been like, oh, he said it, so it was alright. It's just like, people won't say it.
But I think in a way,